And welcome everybody to Two Guys on Politics. This is season 4, episode 26, with my great co-host, former Congressman Bill Lipinski, and we're broadcasting on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 radio in Detroit, and also on YouTube at twoguysonpolitics.com. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, polls showing Trump losing support, Jimmy Kimmel dump, Charlie Kirk critics face backlash, how to overcome the Great Divide, and crackdowns on illegal aliens. Isn't there a way we can get past the conflict that just seems to be getting worse? And then we'll talk at the very end a little bit about Arabs who have set up their own tent at O'Hare Airport because they don't feel the aviation department is doing enough to help them. We'll be right back right after this.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio at 248-487-8084. That's 248-487-8084.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics. Hello, Raymond. How you doing today?
Good. I'm doing. We both took a little time off last week, and we were both really busy, but we appreciate everybody's patience. We got some feedback from people, and we encourage you to get feedback, and we'll respond. I think, Bill, you responded to the one guy that emailed us.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we want to do that. So we got a lot of stuff to cover today. The polling shows that fewer and fewer Americans have faith in President Trump's leadership, and they're upset about his failure to deliver on his promises, according to an AP NORC. Now, I don't know what NORC is, but it looks like it's a right-wing Republican thing. It says that Republicans are starting to not favor what Trump is doing, that their disappointment is growing. So they say the share of Republicans who see the country headed in the right direction has fallen significantly, according to the NORC Center for Public Affairs Research. And of course, they never say what NORC is. They're trying to cover up. It could be a liberal thing, could be a conservative. I don't know. But the polling, if it's accurate, and I think for the most part, some of this is, Bill, it shows that people are on both sides are concerned about where we're going. And then there's the New York Times poll that they did, of course, left-wing, newspaper, right?
Certainly is.
You could see beginning in March of this year, the critics, the disapproval rate has gone up from like about 48%, it's up to like 54%, and the approval rating has dropped. It just completely reversed itself, down from 48% to down to 43%. So his disapprovals are increasing at a steady rate, and his approvals are dropping just as quick. So I don't know. What are you surprised, you think, by these polling, Bill, that he's
No,
having some problems?
I'm not surprised at all, Ray. For a long time during the second Trump administration, I would make the point that I never voted for him. I never will vote for him. But there's many things that he's doing that I like. Now, I think he's a reprehensible character. I don't like the things that he says, but he did a number of very good things, I believe. But I have now gotten to the point where his personality and the negative things that he's doing to this country just outweigh the good things that he has done. Excuse me. So I would be in one of, excuse me just a second.
There we go.
Ray, as I was saying, I am I'm disappointed in him.
Yeah.
And consequently, I no longer speak of the good things that he does. I only speak of the negative things that he does. Now, unfortunately, the Democrats are still in a position, as far as I'm concerned, that they don't really offer anything worthwhile, anything helpful, anything that will bring this country together. I really think we have an enormous problem in this country with the division that exists. And I was hoping today that you and I could talk about things that could bring us together. And I was hoping that our listeners would send us ideas and suggestions. But instead of doing that today, I want to talk about Charlie Kirk and everything that's going on surrounding him, because I think his assassination, and there are people who contend he wasn't assassinated. I don't know what they say he was, but they don't believe he was assassinated.
Well, let me just say something about the polling first, and then, let's definitely go into this great divide that I think you accurately bring up and how we bring this country together. I think it's a great thing, and it just keeps getting worse with Jimmy Kimmel. And not that I like the guy, but we'll talk about that. I just want to go back to the polling, because the pattern that I see that's interesting is that Trump's unpopularity is getting worse, but he still is a little popular, not because he's doing a great job, but because the Democratic Party is in complete disarray. So the worse the Democrats get, when Trump's popularity starts to drop, it doesn't look as bad, because it's in contrast to the Democrats, who are just they've given up on leadership. They're like reactive, they're responsive. They only care about themselves. They abandon principle, just like many of the Republicans do. It's all about themselves. So there's no counter force to Trump. And when you don't have that comparison, so when we look at Trump and say, wow, his popularity is dropping, it has to be relative to something. So if we're looking at Trump dropping, but we're looking at the Democrats, which is relative to him, they're dropping. They're in horrible disarray. It's hard to sense the trouble that we're in, or assess the real damage that Trump's lack of losing popularity is having. And I think that's what helps him survive. Even though his popularity is dropping, the fact that the Democrats are disorganized, can't get their act together, allows him to sustain a worse and worse public image.
Well, I agree with everything you have to say there, Ray. Unfortunately, we really will not know how bad the situation is with Trump until we have the midterm elections.
Yeah.
Now, if the Democrats take control of the House, it means that those polls showing Trump going down, down, down are accurate. It doesn't mean that the Democrats are coming up, 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 by no means. It's just that most people will feel that they need to have some kind of block, some kind of disruption to what Trump wants to do.
Have you heard anything, Bill, about from the quote third party that Elon Musk was going to do? I mean, there was a big blast, and outside of Twitter that Musk owns, I haven't heard anything about that. It's almost like the media has shut him out, because I don't think the media wants a third party. I think they want a democratic revival the media wants the Democrats to beat Trump. They don't want a third party to undermine both the Republicans and the Trump in the midterms. What do you think?
No, I agree with you totally and completely. I don't hear anything even from Elon talking about a third party any longer.
Right.
And no labels. The outfit that sucked so many people in the last time around to donate money to them because they were going to have a candidate in the middle against Trump and against Joe Biden. They never materialized, but they're still around. They're still trying to hustle people as far as I am concerned. You know, I believed them in the beginning. I wanted to see them succeed. I listened to what they had to say, but they totally disappointed me. They totally disappointed a number of people. And I know a couple of people who contributed large sums of money to keep them rolling. And those people have turned against them also because they did nothing. Now, we're going to have to, if this country is going to be saved, I'm afraid it's going to have to be saved either by a Republican Party without Trump or a Democratic Party that has once again decided that common sense is better than supporting all these ultra left-wing ideas and suggestions, because that's not where the American people are.
Now, you've had a great idea. We want to take this podcast to local Chicago radio. So we're looking for a sponsor. I'm hoping we get a sponsor that doesn't cancel me, you know, because of my pro-Arab views, Bill, the way they canceled Jimmy Kimmel. But let's shift over to that topic that you had. We're kind of talking about it a little bit, but the great divide in this country. Explain this challenge that we're facing and the damage it's caused, and your point that we need, you know, to find a way to overcome this problem. We need to bring the country together.
First of all, in regards to the assassination of
Charlie Kirk, right?
A man who I had never heard of, okay?
Right.
And many people, no one that I knew personally, other than you, had ever heard of this guy.
Right.
Now it seems like the right thinks he's a saint. The left thinks he was the devil, okay? He is shot. He is assassinated. People come out within a couple of days saying how it happened, who did it. The guy that did it admits he did it. He admits that he has a gay lover, okay? But now there's so many conspiracy theories coming out. Even the people who are the strong Trump supporters believe that the deep state somehow is keeping the truth from us, okay?
Well, they've made this into like a Kennedy assassination, and I agree with you. I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was, other than I've heard a few things that he said. He was no different than a lot of podcasters, radio hosts, or speakers out there you like, you don't like. The one thing that I did like about him was he had a very sympathetic view towards the Palestinians. And I think it was driven more by criticism of Israel's heavy-handed control over American politics. You know, they use their money to beat up politicians. They fund you or they oppose you. They're the biggest factor in whether a person can win or lose in Congress. And he was very open about that. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, the congresswoman who has been very critical of AIPAC, and AIPAC has said they're going to target her and take her out. Now, she's a MAGA Republican. So that's all I knew about him. But what's interesting, and I wonder how you feel about this, the right is using Charlie Kirk discussions as a litmus test for whether you should have free speech or not, whether you should be arrested, whether you should be charged, whether you should be kicked off of TV like they kicked off Jimmy Kimmel, who, by the way, I never liked. But I'm not sure that I think this is a good reason to kick somebody off of TV. They've immortalized this guy. They've turned him into a god equal to when I think of a conspiracy I think of JFK's assassination. They've pretty much risen and lifted up Charlie Kirk's killing to the level of JFK. I'm not sure it's the same equivalence. and I'll probably be criticized for saying that. But it's sad. Nobody should be killed.
Well, talking about the Jewish Arab issue, yeah, yeah, it got so bad that Bibi Netanyahu spent over 2 minutes on a video saying that
Yeah.
Israel had nothing to do with killing Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, even he's scared.
Totally untrue. Okay.
Even he's scared of the repercussions.
I am getting very upset, very emotional here because I cannot believe these conspiracy theories going
Right.
from the left to the right.
Well,
They just can't admit that one guy shot and killed him. Okay. No, there's got to be some great conspiracy behind the whole mess.
well, is it that there's got to be a conspiracy, or the public has a lack of faith in our government agencies to date to tell us what the truth is? Because a lot of people feel we're being lied to by every side.
Absolutely.
The Republicans, the Democrats. I don't know what's true anymore. It's so hard to find out what the reality is. The media is pulling its punches. They're afraid to say stuff now. And they've been too far to the left anyway, but now they're acting like, oh gosh, we got to be careful what we say. So they're pulling their punches, and the right is going off the deep end like they're at an advantage. Like there's a surge of right condemnation of the left, and they're gaining momentum and power. So they're going like crazy, saying all kinds of stuff. I listen, Jimmy Kimmel was never somebody that I liked. I never watched him. I never watched any of them except maybe Jimmy Fallon. He was the only late night talk show host who I thought criticized both the left and the right, the way Johnny Carson used to do that years ago. And my favorite person, of course, is the guy on Comedy Central, Jon Stewart, because I like his humor. And he's very pro-Arab. So I figure, you know what? I'm going to go for my bias.
Well, I don't watch any late night stuff since David Letterman went off. I watch reruns of Seinfeld. Okay, no more late talk show stuff for me. But
I used to watch Seinfeld, Bill. I don't watch him anymore because he's been anti-Arab. I want you to watch Everybody Loves Raymond, okay? That's purely non-political and the funniest on TV.
The commercial for the Arabs comes later on in the program. Okay?
All right. We'll do that because I feel this might be my last show after, my comments that if we get a sponsor, they may kick me off, put somebody on.
You just want to throw me off my game over here.
No.
All right, now let's get back to trying to bring this country together.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. First thing that we have to do is decide that there is some entity, someplace in this country that we can believe. Is it part of the news media? Is it radio? Is it television? Is it newspapers? Maybe it's the government, part of the government. We have to find some entity, some institution that 90% of Americans can agree. They know what they're talking about. They're telling us the truth. That would be the first step with bringing us together. I mean, you and I, to a certain extent, disagree on the situation in the Middle East, okay?
Right, but we don't beat each other up, right?
No, absolutely not. And that's what we have to get back to in this country. We have differences of opinion. We can differ without being mean towards the other individual. And the first step would be to find an institution that we can trust, that we can believe, because no one believes anything anymore, as you pointed out. And that's what's causing the great divide in this country.
Yeah, I think part of the problem causing the great divide is not only the rise of the political hate that targets people. Like I said, I never liked Jimmy Kimmel, but it seems like they're exploiting this anger to target people that they don't like. Trump does this. He attacks people. He files lawsuits. Talk about lawfare. I hear the right complaining about how these lawsuits are against them, but Trump is suing everybody. $16 billion, I think, against the New York Times. The judge threw that out and said,
Yep.
hey, you only get 40 pages of hate when you file a lawsuit, not 200. I think they just went overboard. But it's also the lack of leadership from the left, from the Democrats. They've completely collapsed. They don't exist. I mean, I don't see a Democratic voice countering this. So it's almost, if you don't have a counterforce, this excessive from the right has no restraint. It can do whatever it wants. So we are really in a mess. I mean, what's the solution? How do we bring everybody
Well,
together?
yeah, let me ask you this question. This social media, I never watched social media, okay, but there's been a great deal of talk about social media in regards to Charlie Kirk. Well, I watched it for maybe 5 minutes the other day. And these videos that people put on, every one that I saw was filled with hate. They talk
Yeah,
about Charlie getting his head blown off, which was great for the country.
right.
Every
Yeah,
one of it
it's
was heavily
terrible.
negative on
Yeah,
Charlie, okay? Now, I grant you, there's things that Charlie said that I could not agree with, but I
right,
didn't want to blow his head off because,
right.
but you got people on social media and they're, dancing around saying it's wonderful,
Yes.
it's dead. Let's get some more of those kind of people. I mean, that does nothing to bring us together. It further divides us. And yet there is no regulation for this social media by any entity, unlike, the networks, unlike radio, where you have the FCC. There are certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. Something's got to be done about this social media.
Well, I don't think there should be regulation of social media. I mean, I don't like social media, and there's some parts of it that I do like. I think social media has been a counter to the bias in the news media. There are things
But
on
there's no
social
question about
media
that.
that have been eye-opening and I think have impacted, our politics. But I agree with you. Nobody should be celebrating somebody's killing like Charlie Kirk's the assassination and murder of Charlie Kirk. That's horrible. But we need to see that stupidity and ugliness. It has to be there to remind us how that there are crazy people out there who are celebrating his death. We need to know they're there. The worst thing to do, I think, is if they're Nazis out there, to suppress them and not let us see them. And if we don't see them, we can't do something about it. So I think it's common sense should drive the audience when they watch social media. Common sense should tell you that these people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder are crazies and they don't deserve any attention. Block them, skip them. But we're lacking in common sense because we don't have anybody out there. There's no common sense leadership.
Well, let me
So we're
comment.
lost.
Let me.
But do you understand what I'm saying? It's
I
like
understand
we
perfectly
need
what
to
you're saying.
see it. We need to see it, but we got to be smart to look past that to
Well,
the
that goes back to every American citizen has to become better informed, know what's really going on in this country, and develop the common sense to know what is right, what is wrong, and what is good for the country. But I want to comment on a point that you made about social media, saying that it turns out to be something against the liberal left. Okay, now we
both
do
sides, both sides.
well, but yeah, that's true. But I think that social media, the little bit I've seen of it, is
Right.
definitely right wing. Okay, definitely conservative. It's a counterbalance to what we perceive as the mainstream news media being very, very
Yes.
favorable to liberal
Yes.
causes, which I agree with. They
Yes.
talk about Walter Cronkite, this
Right.
magnificent individual who pontificated on CBS for years and years. I don't think he was middle of the road. I think he
No.
was a liberal.
Yes,
Okay.
he
I
was.
think he supported liberal causes. But NBC and ABC were the only other two networks, and they pretty much parroted what he had to say because he was very successful. So they wanted their guys to be successful. So they wanted their guys to talk the same way. So America got a distorted opinion of what this country was. And all it really was the East Coast elite and the West Coast elite getting their viewpoint out on national television. So, I think that social media definitely is a counterbalance to that. But social media, the little bit I've seen, and I say that, once again, it's gone way overboard.
Yeah, it's listen, social media has a benefit and a destructive side to it, a good side and a bad side. There are videos, for example, and again, I obviously I have a interest in the Middle East. The only place where you're going to see Israelis killing Palestinians is on social media. The American media is afraid to run that. So on the one hand, I think that social media has driven a lot of Republicans away from the pro-Israel foundation that the Republican Party has had, and even the Democratic Party foundation that Israel has. Not enough to prevent the UN, the United States, from issuing the only country that vetoed a ceasefire at the UN this week. How do you not support a ceasefire when the only people being killed are women and children? The Hamas is decimated; it doesn't exist, but Israel is using that. But so on that hand, there is a benefit to social media. It counterbalances the bias that exists in our media. But on the other hand, like you say, I mean, your brief encounter of social media, there is a deluge of right-wing posts that, especially now in the wake of the unfortunate and wrong, assassination of Charlie Kirk, there's been a push, a lot of that on there. So the right now is really dominating social media. But I think that average Americans need to look at this. And if you watch it enough, I think you would even see a balance and a way to decipher some of this, these posts as being wacky or reasoned, or whatever. But I think social media has its place. It's just that we have to be smart people about navigating through it. It's not easy, but
don't you think there should be any regulations on social media at all?
No, because it's free speech. I mean, I am against any type of censorship of American free speech. Now, I would not burn an American flag. I would not do that. I served in the military. My brother was a Marine. My dad was in the OSS, Fifth Army. I believe in the American flag. However, I believe the strength of the American flag in our country is in our ability to tolerate somebody who disagrees with me and burns the American flag. I may not like it, but his or her ability to do that shows that we are really a free speech, democratic country, democracy.
I have no argument with you on that. None whatsoever. I accept that. That's
so
fine.
I wouldn't want us to crack down on that, but that's what's happening. Trump is cracking down on that.
What about then? We should get rid of regulations on ABC, CBS, NBC, all the radio stations.
But yes, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't watch Good Morning America because I think they're biased. I will not watch them, and I bet there are millions of people that won't watch them because ABC, news in the morning, Good Morning America is so biased. I can't handle it. Our individual rights to decide who we like can come together and undermine Jimmy Kimmel. We didn't need Trump to do that. But because we're distracted by all this hate, we're not focused on Jimmy Kimmel. But the truth is, in a regular world, I think Jimmy Kimmel would have been thrown off of TV a long time ago if we weren't being distracted by this hate. So I think we leave it up to the American people, that the majority of American people really decide what's worth watching, what's not worth watching, have the freedom. I want to see the Nazis out there, because if they suppress the Nazis, they're going to be working in the shadows. And that scares me more. When we see them, we can address what they're doing a lot better and know what they're doing. But
how long is this program today? 3 hours or 4 hours?
Well, we're doing pretty well.
Are we?
Yeah,
surprisingly. Okay.
We've covered a lot of topics, but we should take a break. We got about a minute or two.
Wait, before we take a break, I would
like. Yeah, no, we got a couple minutes, is what I'm saying. We're doing good.
I disagree with you on this, the lack of regulation that you would like to see. But I can see
that I'm opposed to. I'm opposed to the regulation.
right. You're opposed to regulation.
Right.
I think that we need some regulation because I don't think that the media in this country, whether it is the social media or the regular media, is truthfully objective enough simply to be giving us news and facts. Okay.
Right.
They all come from their particular point of view.
Yes.
Now, I think that when we had the Democratic administration, they bent over backwards to allow the mainstream news media to project Republicans, conservatives in a very, very bad light. They never did anything about that. That's why we now have social media so strong, so conservative, so much against liberals. By the same token, now Trump is starting to do anything that he possibly can do to stop mainstream media from being liberal by threatening them with one action after another by the federal communication system. I think that's wrong, totally and completely wrong. And I just want to go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, although, listen, I listen to NPR. I enjoy listening to it.
I don't listen to NPR.
I don't believe everything they say, but I feel that they really do a good job of journalism. My problem with NPR is if they're so good and they have such a following, why do they need government support? So on the one hand, I don't think that the government should be funding any media other than the Voice of America, which Trump is undermining and shutting down and taking money from, because that propagates information to the world outside the United States, where I think they need at least something. But I'm not totally against the idea that why are we giving money to people that really don't need money? There are other causes we should give money to. NPR can be very successful on its own, maybe not in today's environment. So those are some of the attitudes that I have about the media.
What is your attitude towards public television?
Same thing. I don't think that government should be giving any media, right or left, any money. Let them advertise. I mean, maybe Trump wants to advertise in the Wall Street Journal. Let him do that because he likes the conservativeness. Or maybe, the Democrats want to advertise in the New York Times. Let them do that. That's their choice. That type of money is private money. But government money should not be given to any news media, outside of wanting to advertise.
I agree with you totally and completely. I do believe, though, that National Public Radio and public television has leaned stronger and stronger to the left for as long as I have been watching. I never listen to the radio. I do watch the television. They lean stronger and stronger to the left all the time. Consequently, as far as I'm concerned, our money is being given to them to advocate causes that I don't believe in. So I agree with you. They shouldn't get any money. Let them advertise. Let them stay on the air that way.
Yes. All right. And listen, let's take our second break and then we'll come back with some more discussion. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Welcome to El Shaba Restaurant at 2029 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights, where you'll be treated to the finest in Middle Eastern cuisine. Enter into the exotic atmosphere of tantalizing aromas and enjoy our chicken or beef shawarma hummus, kebabs, specially seasoned Syrian-style beef burgers, babia fatouche salad, soups and sandwiches, plus desserts that include baklava, ice cream, and more. Just call in your order at 586-565-6661 or go to our website and place your order now at elshaba.square.site. That's elshaba.square.site. Then you'll see all there is to choose from. Try us today. You'll like us. We are located at 2097 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziad.com. That's www.ziad.com. Ziad, quality products from our family to yours.
Arab Center Washington, D.C. was established in 2015 to serve as a Washington-based authoritative research center on the Arab world and U.S. policies in the region. My name is Khalil Jahshan, and I'm the Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C.
I am Tamara Kharoub. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Fellow here. Our mission at Arab Center, Washington, D.C. has been to provide Arab perspectives to U.S. policy conversations and to highlight rights-centered approaches to policymaking as a way to serve the causes of human rights, democracy, just and peaceful resolution to conflict, and constructive long-term U.S. interest in the region.
Our work also addresses fundamental aspects of U.S.-Arab relations through timely and objective academic research, policy analysis, and educational exchange, reaching millions of people here in the United States and around the world.
Since our inception, we invested in producing reliable, evidence-based, and inclusive analysis on important issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa.
We would like to invite you personally to check out our publications and events at arabcenterdc.org.
And please follow our social media platforms for timely responses to news, events, and current affairs.
arabcenterdc.org.
And welcome back to segment 2 of Two Guys on Politics with Ray Hanania, myself, and Bill Lipinski, former congressman. We had a great, lively debate during the first segment.
Yes, we did.
On bringing the country together and what some of the problems are and the new woke attitudes that are woke and unwoke. I'm not sure what the two words are going to be. But now we're going to shift over to the ICE crackdowns. I mean, we haven't seen any solution to this. And they keep saying that ICE, and Trump wants to crack down on crime in Chicago, and he's targeting Hispanics, and the reports of ICE groups all over Tinley Park, Orland Park, Chicago, up north, wherever there might be a little Hispanic population. We just came out of Mexican Independence Week, where it was kind of tempered a little bit because a lot of Mexican Americans are afraid to be out there in public because of the threat from ICE. But how do we deal with this? We're not moving forward and solving it. It just sounds like we're creating more conflict. And the more conflict we create, it only takes one person out of 10,000 who feels they've been so punished that they go and do something crazy. That's the option that we're headed toward, I think. And I don't know. What do we do, Bill?
Well, as we start this segment, I want to ask you, are you still in favor of violating the Constitution to let the federal government crack down on crime on all these big cities, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, any place else that Trump wants to send in his federal troops to crack down on crime, even though it violates the Constitution?
Yeah, I've changed my attitude slightly, and I'll tell you why. I blame both the Republicans and the Democrats for our terrible border situation and the influx of illegal aliens who enter this country. The word illegal is not something I'm going to erase because they entered this country illegally. They're illegal. They should be punished. People continue to come into this country. We need to end that. We need to find a way to stop it. We need to find a way to prevent that from happening in the future. However, because I think both Democrats and Republicans are responsible, and even liberals and independents and centrists, nobody has come up with an answer. Nobody has done anything, neither Biden, neither Obama, neither Bush, not Trump. I think that there are illegal aliens in this country who have lived a good life, who have built up families, who work, who contribute to our society. I think we need to find a way to identify those good illegals who came into a broken system that was broken because of us and find a way to allow them to become good citizens, legal citizens, without forcing them to go to Mexico or Central America or any Asian country where they've come from.
Let me ask you, how long should those people have lived here to be eligible for the Ray Hanania amnesty program.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have had amnesty programs, and they
Yes,
obviously they did not work. So I
well, it
think
probably
that
did work. It brought a lot of people in because I voted for it. And I've said it many times. There's only one reason I voted for that amnesty program was that because my hero called me up and asked me to do him a favor and vote for that. His name was Ronald Wilson Reagan. Okay,
right.
so I said, okay, Mr. President, this one's for you.
Well, and there's a case where we had a president who tried to address the problem, have
Absolutely.
amnesty, tighten the border. The problem was that they did the amnesty back then. They just didn't fix the border problem. We continue to get illegal aliens coming in. And as you know, and you and I think agree on this, it's the criminal element that comes in with the good people. They sneak in. You can't just look at somebody and say, oh, he's a mobster and he's just a family person, right? A cartel from Sinaloa versus just somebody who is hoping to build a better family. But I think that I would, and I don't know, I think maybe if you've been here under 3 years, you should go back. If you've been
Okay.
here over 3 years and you have a good record, you've never caused any problem, you've never been involved in a major crime, certainly never been charged with violence or major theft, or hurting or killing, I think that you should be given an opportunity to stay in and go through the process of becoming an American. And I think it means several things, not just saying, oh, we're going to give you citizenship. You need to learn English. Number one, you have to pass an English test. Number two, you need to understand what our Constitution is all about. You need to study the Constitution. And three, you need to, it's okay to be proud of your homeland and your heritage, but you need to agree and say, America is my priority. And if you say that, I think we should give people an opportunity to stay. Because that's what my mom and dad went through when they legally came into this country. They learned the language, they learned about the Constitution, and they really wanted to become Americans. If you don't want to become an American, go back to where you came from. What can I say? But
Well, I will say
that's what I
this.
think.
I will say this. I could support the Hanania Freedom for Aliens program, okay? But you have to up it to 5 years. I think
Okay.
it's year five because under 5 years, there's so many that came in during Biden's administration. I mean, it was ludicrous. I've said this before. To me, it bordered on a treasonous policy that Biden had, allowing all these people to come into this
Right.
country from all over the world. It wasn't just from Mexico or South America.
Right.
It was from all over the world. So I
Right.
think, but if we can up it to 5 years, tweak it a little bit here or there, I would support your program. If I was
Right.
sitting in Congress and you were the leader and you put forth that program, give me 5 years, tweak it a
Yeah.
little bit, and I'll support it for you.
That would be if we had a reasoned government, a country where the Great Divide didn't exist, and we had reasoned people on the right and the left who came together and said, "Hey, let's find a common sense way to resolve this problem." Yeah, that would be it, and I think 5 years would be fine too. I would agree to that.
I think that the reason the Democrats and the Republicans have not really done anything on this immigration problem is because they had particular interest in mind. The Democrats liked all these people coming in here so
Yes.
they could be made citizens and they could vote for Democratic candidates, okay? The Republicans liked them all coming in here because they could go to work for less than the minimum wage, drive down the salaries of real Americans, benefit the large corporations, the wealthiest people in this country. So I believe that's why neither party did anything. Once again, they were looking at what was beneficial to them, not what was beneficial to America or the majority of American citizens.
And I think there's one other factor driving this problem, and that is for Democrats and Republicans, this issue was an issue they could argue successfully and ignore all their other problems. They could get the
Oh, that's
public
true.
behind them to say, oh, yeah, Congressman so-and-so is fighting for the rights of illegal immigrants, but they don't want it resolved. They want this issue. It's been going on for 25, 30 years, and they want it to continue because it's a great place to hide behind. So it deflects from their lack of leadership, their failures on other issues. Immigration is like gun control and abortion. It's a blinding issue. And it blinds you to the point where you don't see anything else except gun control. You love a guy who stands for guns. You love a guy who is against guns. You don't even get to see the other issues. So I think politics has exploited this.
Well, a mutual friend of ours, Congressman Louis Gutierrez.
I was going to mention he was the perfect example.
No greater champion of immigrants, than Louis Gutierrez.
Yes.
He ever put together or introduced a single bill to solve this problem?
I don't think so. And I was going to say, I really like Louis Gutierrez, former cab driver.
He was one of my friends in Congress.
He was a great guy, and I really liked him. He had a very good attitude toward the Middle East. But the one thing he never did was solve that problem, because I think that was the foundation of his success.
Absolutely.
Without that issue, I'm not sure he would have gotten reelected.
I don't think he would.
And I know he'll hear this. He'll be mad at both of us. But honestly, I like Louis Gutierrez.
Oh, I do too.
I thought he was a good person.
Charming guy, very engaging.
Yes.
But that was
you're absolutely right.
And he wanted to do something about it one of these days.
And he wasn't the only one. There were a lot of them all over the country who saw this as an opportunity to do something. But right now, this fear of being grabbed, the Trump's strategy to go in and arrest all these people and fight crime on his own, and Pritzker's refusal to work with the president on this, that confrontational attitude is not a solution to our problem. That's selfish politics on both their parts.
Well, I think that what Trump is doing with this immigration situation is the same mistake that Netanyahu made fighting the war against Hamas. The way he did it was a terrible, terrible mistake. He lost support, as I mentioned before, amongst people in this country, people around the world, countries around the world. I think Trump is losing a great deal of support because of the way he's having ICE go after these people. It is a mistake. What is happening there is that immigrants are gaining more and more sympathy, and you're going to get to the situation where ICE is going to have to stop because the general public is going to be so opposed to what they're doing that they will not be able to do it all. There's more and more groups demonstrating against ICE, demonstrating against his policies of getting rid of all these immigrants. You have to be smart in how you do these things. And once again, he's doing it with a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. And that was the same problem that Bibi Netanyahu had and still has in the Middle East.
Yeah, good people getting hurt that shouldn't be hurt on both sides. In immigration, there's some good people, I think, that are being hurt by this. Unfortunately, there is a role for these illegal aliens. They have a role in this country. We've been using them to do stuff, and we need to find a solution for it. Just like, and I agree with you on the Middle East. It's not about Israel. I support Israel and I support Palestine. I do not support Israel's government. I did not support Hamas. I think Hamas has been eradicated, but I do think that the Israeli government, Netanyahu's government, sees this as an opportunity to take over all that land and push the Palestinians out. And I think that's the wrong reason to respond to violence. It's just, a mistake, I think.
Well, if he pushes all the Palestinians out, who's going to work in all of Trump's hotels when he builds his Riviera of the Middle East?
Or any of they want to develop that into, first of all, given all the violence in Gaza, I'm not sure it would be safe for 30 years for an Israeli right-wing person to open up a hotel in Gaza because the children of these victims are going to be so angry. All they're doing is creating extremism and violence through this hate and killing of people. So many people have been killed. Social media is the only place you can see it. It's horrific. It really, Bill, it's, when you see these women and children that have been killed or that are suffering, it's not about being Arab anymore. It's about being human. We should be finding a way to resolve this. And Trump says he doesn't like it. But, the one thing you got to say about President Trump, he talks a lot, but he doesn't deliver on his promises.
Yeah, listen, did he put those heavy sanctions on Putin yet?
No. It's almost like, what is he waiting for? I don't understand Trump's failure to deliver on his promises. He said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in one day. He was going to end the war in Gaza in one day. He was going to boost up the economy in one day. We're in total disarray because he has never delivered on any of his promises. And I think that's a real tragedy for us as Americans.
It is, absolutely. No question about it.
All right. Well, just two little points. I was talking to you. I was talking to you about how I traveled to Las Vegas last week for the Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez super middleweight championship fight. Now, in my generation, I only knew the heavyweight champion battles when Muhammad Ali rose in the 60s. I knew Muhammad Ali. I worked at a jewel at 87th and Stony Island, and Ali used to drive there. He used to live near Michelle Obama when she was living there just off of Stony Island. He was in the same area. And he would come there and he'd see me, the darkest person in Jewel, and say, I want him to carry my bags out. Muhammad Ali's best friend and bodyguard was a guy named Salama Hassan, whose sister, Saluka Hassan, was my mother's best friend. So we would see these, that early Ali and his ties to the Arab world. And to me, that's when the heavyweight championship became the focus of boxing. And recently, this Sheikh Turkey LL Sheikh invested hundreds of millions of dollars in boxing, revived the focus on the lower division weights, like the super middleweight, not just the heavyweight bouts. And he created this excitement where the last fight, I think it was Floyd Mayweather Jr. I met his younger brother, by the way, Jeff Mayweather, when I was in Vegas. Great former champion boxer also. Floyd Mayweather, the big fight in 2015, I think, or 2016, right around that period, only got 4 million views. This fight with Crawford and Canelo got 41 million views. 41 million Americans just in the U.S. watch this fight, and hundreds of millions of people around the world. That's a great thing. And then he announced that he was going to bring WrestleMania, the WWE, from the U.S. He's bringing it to Saudi Arabia in 2027. And they agreed. He's pouring money like crazy. This guy's a billionaire, and I think he's using his money to revive it. But you made a great point. Before Ali, the lower weight divisions in boxing were a big deal, right? In the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Well, yeah, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And I remember very well in the late 40s, in the early 50s, I followed boxing. I could name for you the featherweight champion, the lightweight champion, the middleweight champion, the lightweight champion, and the heavyweight champion. Okay.
Wow.
And the middleweight class probably was I would say in the late 40s, early 50s, that was probably the most active class. I mean, you had a guy from Gary, Illinois, called the Gary Steelman, Tony Zale, a great middleweight championship. Great middleweight champion. He lost his championship to a guy by the name of Marcel Cerdan from France. He lost his middleweight championship to a guy by the name of Sugar Ray. Okay?
Right.
Real Sugar Ray. The original Sugar Ray. I can go on and on about that. I'm just pointing out that once upon a time, there were many weight divisions that people had an interest in.
And the public was focused on all of that too.
Absolutely.
But it did change after Muhammad Ali. It was just heavyweight fighting. Oh,
Well,
I mean, for the
dominated.
majority of Americans,
Oh, yes.
not for the industry. They looked at it.
Majority of
weights.
Americans seem to move on from
Yeah.
boxing. I mean, in the 40s, the 50s, even the 30s, it was, it was one of the top spectator sports in America. But I'll tell you, quite frankly, as it became more and more African American, unfortunately, more and more white Americans lost interest in it. Okay,
Right.
When it was a lot of Poles, Italians, some Irish early on, there was a lot more interest in it. But as I say, as the blacks began to dominate boxing in this country, most of white America moved on to something else. And
Yeah,
wrestling was never really a sport. It was always just an exhibition, quite frankly.
Well, it was interesting. This Crawford Canelo fight was African American versus a Mexican American, and the Mexican American Canelo Alvarez has been the champion, the super middleweight champion for a number of years. And the stadium at Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders play in Las Vegas, was completely adorned in Mexican colors and Mexican themes. And when I talked to Crawford, there was a little resentment on his part. Nobody acknowledged anything about him. And they played him down. Nobody believed he could win, but he did win. He had a longer reach, and he pummeled this guy Canelo, who turned out not to be as strong as Crawford, who came up from a lower division to get to the middleweight division. All right, listen. Go ahead.
What was do you know offhand what the weight is of the super middleweight?
I don't have the weight chart in front of me, but yeah,
the old middleweight
it's like about
160 pounds, and then the light heavyweight was 175, and after that it was the heavyweight.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, those are probably the numbers. Crawford had to put weight on to fight in this fight.
Okay.
He did do it, and he still won. All right, one final little thought. I just want to give a shout out to the Arabs and Muslims. They set up a tent at O'Hare Airport at the staging area where the Lyft, Uber, and shared rides. You as a traveler today, you depend on those drivers. If it wasn't for them, the taxi industry is just decimated. They don't exist the way they used to exist anymore. So in order to get these rides, they have a parking area outside of O'Hare where they have to wait in the cold and in the heat. So they built their own tent. The Arabs did. They put together the money. They built their own tent. It's air conditioned. They bring food. They have everything there. And the city of Chicago authorized it. But now they're like, they want to get rid of it. And it's open not just to Arabs and Muslims, but it's open to everybody. Women, drivers, Christians and Jewish drivers sit there. There's an area where they can all sit together. They need something, and they shouldn't take it for granted. So anyway, I wanted to just give them a plug. We're right at the end of our time. So I want to just say, I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.